What are you hearing on your committee? Are we closer or further away from a ceasefire today?
Joe, thanks for having me on. And again, apologies for not being able to be in studio. I think we're closer to a deal today. I think what President Biden did last Friday was important, put out the contours of the deal, the various phases. And I think it then puts the ball squarely in Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu's court. But then the big variable, as the professor said, was Mr. Sinwar, who runs the military wing of Hamas. And, I'm not sure what his motivation is for a ceasefire, but that says it does put a lot of pressure on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Congressman, if you too think we're getting closer does not mean we have arrived at a ceasefire yet. Should Benjamin Netanyahu get the honor of addressing a joint session of Congress before a ceasefire is in place, or should that be a prerequisite?
Well, I don't know if it's a prerequisite, but I don't think you should do a joint session in Congress right now. We're in the middle of a war. This is an extremely divisive issue. I think it's extremely cynical that Speaker Johnson invited him. And again, I wish that invitation hadn't been offered at this particular moment in time. Now, 3 months from now, if there's a ceasefire, if there's humanitarian aid going in and we're talking about what a future for Israel looks like, that would be very different.
Well, the speaker might force your hand on this, Congressman. I wonder if Mike Johnson invites Benjamin Netanyahu anyway, in lieu of a ceasefire, if he would sit for that speech.
We'll see when it gets scheduled. Again, fortunately, it's not next week. If it is in a couple of weeks and there is a ceasefire, humanitarian aid's flowing into Israel, again, I think that might be appropriate at that point.
Well, we appreciate your insight into this as a member, as Joe said, of the Foreign Affairs Committee. But you also are a member of the Select Committee on Intelligence, Congressman, and you will have a few other committee members joining you now after the Speaker named Scott Perry, the Republican from Pennsylvania, and Ronnie Jackson, the Republican from Texas, to join that committee. Are they worthy of serving on it with you? What do you think of those appointments?
I don't know Ronnie Jackson very well, but Scott Perry and I have served together for 6 terms on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and I will be honest, I have some reservations. Certainly the information that we're given in the Intelligence Committee, what we have access to, the briefings that we hold very close to our, because we're told some of the nation's most important secrets. And I do have reservations as to whether Mr. Perry will honor his obligations to the Intelligence Committee.
Well, of course, Congressman Perry's phone was seized as part of the FBI's investigation into January 6th. Ronnie Jackson is a separate story, Congressman, and we look back to a Pentagon Inspector General's report from 2021 that led to his demotion. He's a retired captain now, not a retired admiral, but it found that the congressman berated subordinates during his time in the White House medical unit, made sexual and denigrating statements about a female subordinate, consumed alcohol inappropriately with subordinates, and consumed the sleep drug Ambien while on duty as the president's physician. Does that sound like someone who should be on the Intelligence Committee?
I mean, those are not flattering comments. I hope maybe he's changed his tune. He's taking being a member of Congress very seriously. I don't know Ronnie Jackson well, so I don't want to judge whether he'll be a good member or bad member. I do have reservations about Scott Perry being on the committee.
Congressman, in our final moment with you, President Biden yesterday, of course, announced an executive action aimed at the border, effectively shutting it down to those seeking asylum. There has been a lot of criticism, not just in the Republican Party, but within yours, to that move. Is it something you support?
I do. I think we've got to do more on the border. And the way I've always looked at this is we should look at the border as a national security issue, and we should think about immigration as an economic issue. And, the nature of who's showing up at our borders certainly has changed. I'm not denigrating the folks that are at the border. They're seeking a better life. They're fleeing conflict and so forth. But, I think we've got to take a very different approach to the border, and I certainly support President Biden's actions.